What is it do you like about Coke?
I love the smell of it.
It's raw. It's raw every goddamn year.
Yes,
Lord.
CIRV'N raw, goddamn.
Subscribe to Serving It Raw and let's keep it
all the way funky, uncut, raw. Serving it raw just like my boy Gutter Kane.
Yes, Lord. You done tapped in the Serving It Raw podcast where the combo stays so raw you don't need no cut. I'm your host, Gutter Kane, the Gutter Man. Today's guest is a true architect of Miami hip-hop culture, a DJ, entrepreneur, filmmaker, and storyteller whose vision helped put South Florida on the map. He's the founder of Crazy Hood Productions, co-creator of the legendary Drink Champs, and the mind behind the Coming Home documentary series. Please welcome to Serving It Raw, DJ EFN. Make some noise.
Thank you for that intro, man. Appreciate you, man.
I know, look, man, I know everybody knows N.O.R.E for what he's did in the rap game, man, but
Of course, he's a legend.
yes, today I want people to put some respect on your name because I don't think people really know what you have done for not just Miami hip hop, but just for the culture in general, especially going all the way back to 93, early 90s. So today we're going to put the spotlight on you.
Let's go. Let's do it, man. Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
No, sir, already. All right. Well, we're going to start from the beginning. I always like to, start from the beginning. So tell me about where you grew up and, just how your environment shaped your love for hip hop.
Okay, let's see. My life story, huh?
Yes, Lord.
I love to hear it.
I was actually born in Los Angeles. My parents were both Cuban immigrants that came after, Fidel Castro and the whole revolution in Cuba. They came separately. They didn't know each other. My dad actually came as a kid in this program that the CIA and the Catholic Church had called Peter Pan program, where they brought these kids, they smuggled them out of the country because they thought they were going to be killed by the communist regime. And he was 13. He came out here. He went to an orphanage in Washington State. My mom came in another program. She was a teenager. Same thing, getting people out of the country. And so the parents were just sending their kids to the States because they were just terrified of what was going on in Cuba with the new regime. So my dad ended up he volunteered for the Marines when he was of age, before his parents even were ever he never knew if he was ever going to see his parents again. They were in Cuba still. He grew up in an orphanage in Washington State from 13 to about 17, 18. He joined the Marines and went to Vietnam. And he fought in Vietnam voluntarily, which I think is crazy. So, and then when he got back, he was stationed in California. In San Diego, where the Marine base in San Diego is.
Yeah.
And my mom ended up in California because what they were doing a lot with a lot of the Cubans coming into Florida is that they didn't really want all these Cubans in one place at first. So they were trying to disperse them all over the country. They were giving them free bus tickets, flights. They're like, just move around. We don't want it to be all in one place.
Oh, damn.
But it originally wasn't supposed to be, Miami was supposed to be this Cuban thing that ended up happening. You know what I'm saying? They was trying to they were like, come on, it's too many of y'all. Like so I got family that ended up in Union City, New Jersey. I got family that ended up in the Carolinas, in New York, and then in California. So in California, my mom ended up there. My aunts, my grandparents ended up over there, and my mom and dad met there. And I was born in Los Angeles. And so, to make a long story short, which I already started with a long story, is my parents broke up. They separated when I was around like 4 or 5, and my dad. This is now the 80s. My dad. He's a Vietnam veteran. He's a Marine. He actually, through the GI Bill, he went to school and was an accountant by schooling. He had an accounting degree, and so he came to Miami in the 80s when they broke up. Like they separated, not broke up. They separated. Came to Miami in the 80s, and that's the heyday, the cocaine cowboy days. So he's Cuban. He's a Marine, a Vietnam veteran. He's got an accounting degree. Like he came out here to see what was going on, and to partake in the businesses out here. And then so my mom and dad tried to work it out a couple times where we would come over here to Miami, and that's when I started coming here around like 6 years old, 7 years old, and it just wouldn't work out. We'd be flying back in the middle of the night because my dad was wilding out. He had PTSD, but back in those days, the veterans didn't deal with they didn't call it PTSD, or even if they did, they didn't acknowledge it as a medical thing. They just had to deal with it.
They didn't acknowledge it like they like mental health type stuff.
Nah, so I saw my dad have flashbacks where he thought he was in the war again and pick up a gun, and he thought me and my mom were Vietnamese soldiers, and like he was like if a helicopter flew over, he would have like a flashback,
Oh
and
shit.
he was an alcoholic. He was going through his shit dealing with that stuff. So needless to say, it didn't work out between my parents, and my mom ended up divorcing my dad. We would go back and forth trying to work it out, but eventually it didn't work out. And at one of those points, we just stayed in Miami, my mom and myself.
Okay.
So now it's just me and my mom. I'm like 7 or 8 years old. And then that's where I start growing up in Miami. And towards the end of like elementary school, I do middle school out here. And it's in middle school where, and elementary, but in middle schools where like hip hop is starting to permeate like my life soundtrack. Like I was like younger, I was like a skater. I was a skater, not like a skater. I was a skater. I was into skate culture, which I still have an affinity for skate culture.
Which you probably got from California.
Yeah. I mean, most likely, yeah. But
Okay.
I don't know. I like skate culture. I think there's a lot of similarities with hip hop and skate culture, and we've seen it with some like Odd Future and Tyler and those guys, and and how they were all skaters and stuff like that. And there's other Lupe Fiasco and whatever, and and Pharrell. But I was a skater, and so naturally in the skating world, it was like a lot of punk rock, a lot of like heavy metal, but punk rock was more like the skater music. But I listened to heavy metal, punk rock, rock stuff, and I was just into counterculture music,
Okay.
like whatever was like rebelling against the man type of shit. and that's what, because skaters, we would go somewhere, we get chased by the security, we'll get chased by the cops. We weren't supposed to skate in places, and so we were all about that, like, man, fuck the man. So when hip hop started coming into the soundtrack of my life, it's like in the beginnings of like hearing Dougie Fresh and Run DMC, and I'm sure I would hear songs. Well, I did hear songs from like Cold Crush and Melly Mel and all those guys, but I didn't know their names at the time. I was just like whatever little things would get to us, because this is pre-internet, pre-everything. This is all analog. So, and they weren't playing hip hop on the radio, so it's whatever I could get my hands on at the time, which was usually people sharing either a tape and the occasional thing you might hear on the radio occasionally. And so I'm starting to hear this stuff, and it was like, and it's a part now of my soundtrack, Beastie Boys and then like NWA came on the scene and Public Enemy, and those two groups specifically like really touched a nerve for me. Like they really like, because before that I felt like rap music, I wasn't even calling it hip hop yet. It was just like, I'm listening. Like if you ask me, what do you listen to? I'm like, oh, I listen to this punk rock group, I listen to this metal group, and I listen to this rap group. Like I had that mixture going on. I wasn't really attributing it to like this culture of hip hop yet. But when NWA and Public Enemy came on the scene, I'm like, yo, this shit hits different. Like there's an emotion. Like I never had heard an emotion in hip hop till that point, like where you felt anger or you felt scared or you felt like something, because they were like putting that emotion through the music. You felt, activism, whatever, all this stuff. And I always tell people I feel NWA and Public Enemy are the same thing from different sides of the spectrum.
It is. It definitely is. Yeah.
In my opinion. And I mean, I spoke to Chuck D, who's, that's an icon to me, and he kind of agreed to it as well. So, and so now these groups come in, and I'm like, hold up, this is something different, and it's filling that same void that it's counterculture music. It's, so I'm like, hold up a second, that other stuff, the punk rock and the metal and all that stuff, that's not really my music. That's not like my generation's music. That's not really, it didn't really speak to me personally. But this is speaking to me, and this is my generation. So now, hold up, this is my generation's music. I'm actually in the infancy of something. Like I could see it from its beginnings, and even more in Miami's beginnings.
Okay.
So that's when I really was like, nah, this is it, man. Like I like as a fan, not even me thinking I'm gonna do anything in it. As a fan, I just went completely, gravitated towards it. I'm like, this is. I'm gonna be well versed in this. I'm gonna dig in the crates. I'm gonna do the history of it. I want to know everything about this. I want to know about, and then I find, it's a culture. It's hip hop. And it was funny. Another skater told me I heard the term hip hop from another skater.
Oh,
so let's not forget. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 42.
Okay, well, I'm 50. So there might be a little difference in some of this like ideas, but back then, people didn't say the words hip hop in music in hip hop. Like it wasn't cool to say hip hop. It wasn't until Naughty by Nature came out with the song Hip Hop Hooray
Ray, yep.
that it kind of was okay to say. But before that, saying hip hop, like you didn't say you were hip hop. That was kind of corny. You just
Yeah.
were hip hop. You didn't say you were hip hop, right? That was
That's
like
right.
the idea.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
idea back then.
I agree with you on that one.
So I wasn't hearing hip hop, those terms that much. So I was with hanging out at another skater's crib, and we were like jumping a ramp and stuff. And then he's like, "Yo, what kind of music you listen to?" And I'm like, "Oh, I listen to this, you know." And I'm telling him like some of the songs I listen to. And I go, "What do you listen to?" He goes, "I listen to hip hop." I'm like, "Hip hop?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, it's you know." And he's breaking it down. He's like, boom, 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 and then then it just opens. It just my mind blows because now I'm like, this is not just music.
Yeah.
This is a whole culture behind the music, and I'm already living it. Like I'm already doing graffiti. I'm already breakdancing because that was just the thing you did at that age in that time frame. I'm doing all the elements of hip hop. You know, of course, every kid was trying to rap too.
Yeah,
You know, you were trying to throw your little verses together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that's when, that's when like when that was introduced to me and just the love I already started having for the music, it just opened up my worldview to what hip hop was and the power of hip hop and what it could be. And then, as you go down a couple more years down the road, I start to I wanted to go to anything I could go to that had hip hop in it locally, which was far and few in between, but there was like this small community of hip hop heads back then, because that's what it was back then. I tell people being hip hop in like the late 80s, early 90s was like being a goth kid. Like in school, you knew the goth kids and then you knew the hip hop kids were. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a small group of people that were actually hip hop heads. Hip hop hadn't blown up to be mainstream where everybody now could just listen to hip hop and be, say they're hip hop. No, back then you were actually the hip hop. You were hip hop heads. And so that's when I dove into it and then I started like supporting everything I could locally, supporting local artists. And then eventually when I got to graduating high school, I was like, I wanna do this professionally. I don't know what. I was gravitating towards DJing, but I couldn't afford turntables. And but I knew, so I said, okay, eventually I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna be able to afford turntables. So I said I came up with the company Crazy Hood Productions, and then that's where like the whole idea 93, it went on from there.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up because Crazy Hill Production is like such a staple in Miami hip hop. And so, but what inspired you to just start that right after high school? Like what was your vision behind it when it first started?
So I felt that the city was still unrepresented in hip hop, like across the board. At that time, New York had the stronghold on hip hop industry and the culture. Because there's, to me, those are two different things. There's the money making side of hip hop music mainly, and then there's the culture of hip hop, and they clash.
Yeah, they clash. They don't always see eye to eye on it.
So, but at that time, New York was running both of those things, the culture side and the industry side.
Yeah,
and they didn't really have, they didn't really respect any other region. So that's why a lot of people outside of New York are very influenced by all the early New York stuff because that's all that was really being pushed out. Of course, the West Coast was coming up and Atlanta and all that, but New York was still king at the time.
Yeah.
So I was always like, man, there's a chance to have an impact locally on the hip hop scene. Like, if I was in New York, probably wouldn't have said that. New York was way ahead of us already.
Yeah.
Well established.
Yeah, it seemed like everybody had to go to New York to try to get on.
Yeah. And so I was like, but here locally, there's still a chance. So I was like, and I was, I wasn't getting good grades in school. I wasn't about to go to college. Luckily for me, my mom worked at the local community college, which allowed me to go for free or reduced rates to go to college.
Okay.
To community college. So I went to college and, I actually didn't even finish that at first. I went back and finished it later. But I wasn't thinking in the framework of like, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna do this. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And to me, it's like, I really got to be into something to want to like pursue it. So I knew I had a passion for hip hop. So I was like, I feel like there's something that could be done. I don't know what we could do because it's not like we got money to invest in things, but what I had was a big crew around me that we was already hanging and we all had the similar passions for hip hop. It was like 20 of us. So I had the numbers as far as a crew goes. So I was like, all right, let's create this production company. Cause back then all the crews that were doing parties or doing anything hip hop locally, they would have their name, and they would just add production at the end of it because we were all teenagers trying to sound professional or just trying to make it sound professional. So it's like whatever productions, you know. And so I came up with Crazy Hood Productions, which if you want to know why that name, I could tell you. But and the idea was we're gonna try to do whatever we can to boost the local hip hop scene and put on for the city, and that was just the goal. Like whatever we can do to contribute to the hip hop scene in Miami, whether it's throwing hip hop jams, whether it's me eventually doing DJing and putting out mixtapes or developing artists that are gonna rep for the city. That was the early goals for Crazy Hood Productions, but without knowing because we didn't have funds. So I didn't know how we were going to accomplish any of these goals, but I knew that I was like, we're going to do something, and we got numbers to do something. So we're going to, the first phase is let's have a production company. Let's have a company. Let's have a brand that we can all rally around, and then we'll take it from there.
Got it. Okay. And I know for people that might not know, I know you said crazy came from the fact that you really felt like you was crazy. Like,
yeah, I thought I was off the rockers, man. I thought I had some loose screws in my. I just was like, the way I think sometimes, I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with me, man? So back when I was a kid, it was even worse, and I was wilding out, and so literally the word crazy was that I thought I was insane. Now to a degree, I didn't think I was clinically insane where I was gonna have to. Well, I didn't know really, to be honest with you, but. I just knew that there was. I thought differently than most kids is what I thought.
Okay, I got you.
Like I got tipping points where like I could you say the wrong thing to me and I was gonna wild out. So crazy came from that, and then hood. People think it means neighborhood, but it doesn't.
It came from
For us, it means hoodie.
Yeah.
Because all the hip hop kids at that time, the uniform was a hoodie. Like back then, a lot of the champion hoodies was like the thing to wear, and so even though Miami is a hot place. School was still cold. Our schools the AC was pumping, and we would go early in the morning. So we would just put on a hoodie and rock it all day because it was really cold in school. To this day, my kids now, when they go to school, we got to give them a sweater because it's cold in school. Even though it's 89 degrees outside, it's cold inside. So we could wear the hoodies. And so the hoodie was our thing. And then also hoodie was the clothes, but then people would say they would call you a hood, like a hoodlum.
Yeah.
That was the double entendre, like you go hoodie or hoodlum. You know what I'm saying? And then productions to make it sound,
for professional.
Clean it up at the end. We professionals here at the end of the day. So Crazy Hood Productions.
Okay, now and under that umbrella, because I want to talk about the Alliance, aka
Right.
the All. Okay, now you and Heckler made some noise in the '90s, especially underground when y'all dropped the song "Fake Out of Towners."
Yeah.
And so hey, what was that movement like? And how did it help define Miami's hip hop when y'all dropped that song? Because y'all dropped that song in like what 96, 90,
Yeah,
95, 96?
90, 95, 96. And then also shout out to my boy Weird Thoughts, who now people might know him as Drink Champ Sports. He's the other member of the group, The Alliance. And Big Drain, who's now Drain Flicks, who takes all the photos for Drink Champs.
Oh, okay.
He was another MC and producer of The Alliance. So
hey, look, I'm down to carry some bags, man, and some luggage, man, to get down with Drink Champs at this point. But
So yeah, The Alliance was me as the DJ and like the executive producer of everything. Heckler, MC, Weird Thoughts as an MC, and then Big Drain, who was an MC and producer, the main producer of The Alliance. So that was The Alliance, who we shortened that name to The All. And yeah, we came up with the song "Fake Out of Towners." I think it was one of the first few songs we recorded as a group. And the reason why the name of the group is The Alliance is because Drain, Heckler, myself, and Weird Thoughts, we were all from different crews in high school. Like Big Drain had a crew called Poetic Symbols. Heckler came from a crew called UE Underworld Elements, and then myself and Weird Thoughts, we were Crazy Hood Productions, which was newly formed at in its infancy. So when we came together and when I put the group together, I'm like, we're an alliance of all of our crews coming together. And so that's why it's The Alliance. And then the All is, we shortened it to the All. And Fake Out of Towners was a thing that, again, going back to the Miami, representing Miami thing, Miami had an identity issue where a lot of the hip hop community in Miami were transplants from New York or wannabe transplants from New York. So It was a lot of like New York identity in our hip hop community. So we were like, man, you being a fake out of towner, you know? And it also, again, it had double meanings. A lot of our stuff had double meanings. There would be a lot of tourists that would come into town and disrespect the city,
Got it.
you know, thinking because they from another town, oh, like Miami was soft or something. So we were like, you're a fake out of towner and you're a fake out of towner, you know what I'm saying? So the
Got it.
song, we made that song and it was funny because Khaled, and shout out to Khaled now, you know, we kind of came up together in a sense. He was on this pirate radio station, you know, on the come up out here called Mix 96. He was at that time, his show was one of the biggest hip hop shows that people would listen to at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But he was newly transplanted from Orlando via New Orleans. He was originally from New Orleans.
Yeah.
And then he came up in Orlando and then he moved to Miami. And a lot of his audience was these people, you know, I won't say these people, but the people with the identity crisis, you know, like where New York was everything. And people misunderstand. It's not that we don't like New York, it's just that we wanted Miami identity. Like if you're gonna be in Miami, let's have a Miami identity, guys. Let's rep Miami. We could do the same music, it could sound like everything that's coming out of New York, but I wanna hear you rep Miami stuff. Like I wanna have something that's relatable to the scene. And so his show was really popular amongst all hip hop heads, and we had the identity problem. So he played that record like a make it or break it type of thing, and he kind of dissed it. Before he played it, he kind of already hated on it.
Ah, okay. So I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because I don't know if he felt that we were in some kind of way either dissing him or his audience. I don't know. It could be either or. I never really spoke to him about it heavily afterwards, but he kind of dissed the record. He set it off with like a diss, and then the callers came in and they wasn't feeling the record. But nonetheless, me and my crew, we didn't care, and we championed that record and that saying, and a lot of the local scene that felt the same way, they really championed that whole slogan, and it was like Fake Out of Towners became a thing. And then we ended up doing FOT's Part 2, which is Fake Out of Towners Part 2, where we got other local artists like Society, who used to be signed to Luke Records, Dynass, who was a part of a group called Black Forest out here that were really big in the early 90s. Scam, who people know, he did records with Eminem. He did artwork for Eminem. He did artwork for Tribe Called Quest, and he's from Carroll City, he's from Miami. So we put this coalition together, and we did Fake Out of Towners Part 2.
Some talent, man, in Miami.
Yeah, man, and so yeah, that's the story of Fake Out of Towners, man, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Well, hey, man, I'm glad y'all put that song out and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I think, to me, that kind of reminded me of like just like this, like Compton. You know, it's like I'm tired of hearing about all these other places. Let's talk about this place, or let's talk about where we from. So I felt like that was a good representation of what was going on in Miami-Dade County. So
yeah, at that time for sure, man.
And so now I know a lot of people don't know this, or they may fail to mention it whenever they interview you, but now you were one of the first Miami DJs to take it national. Okay, and what I'm talking about is Rap City in the Basement.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think I was the first Florida DJ on the Basement.
I know. See, sure. Yeah. I told you. Look, I'm on it. Look, when I talk about I'm a hip hop head like you, dude. I could talk with you all day. You know what I'm saying? Because we both got the same passion and love for that. And so, I know when you were on there, you were talking to basically Big Tigger was talking about the Alliance and everything. So yeah. So what do you remember most about that experience, and what did it mean from Miami hip hop at that time for you to be seen on that platform?
Man, that was huge to be on to be invited. Number one, I did 2 episodes. I was on 2 episodes.
Oh, I know. I was 2001.
Yeah.
I just graduated high school.
So, but one fun fact, and it's not fun really. What kind of might have hindered what that really could have done for me? It could have done more, I feel, for me and for the city, is that I filmed that a day or two before 9/11.
Yeah.
So the episode was supposed to originally drop like a couple weeks after we filmed it. But then 9/11 happened. Like I flew back from New York from filming that, and I woke up to the towers being hit, and I was just on an American Airlines flight from New York.
Oh.
Like we flew in that night, and then the next morning is when the towers got hit. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. And we had gone by the towers and everything while we were there. So that's that happened, and so they put a hold on that on any Rap City episodes dropping for a minute,
Yeah.
and I think they were doing reruns and stuff. So it didn't happen. It didn't come out till like I think like 6 months later. Like it took a while for it to come out. I don't know how accurate 6 months, but it was a long time. And back in those days, like something like that, for it to come out so late, and we were pushing a single at the time that I
Yeah.
think I talk about on there and all that. So and being independent, we really needed that push to kind of line up with what we were doing, and so that's kind of like something that kind of hindered that exposure. But nonetheless, when it dropped, it was the pride of the local hip hop community. Like I remember, like it just like it really put me in a different space at that time, like on a more national, platform, and like people were just starting to hit me up nationally,
Yeah.
from all over the country and stuff, and it really helped to help my, the mixtapes and everything I was doing, man. So that was huge. And if I'm not wrong, I believe Justo, rest in peace to Justo from the Justo Mixtape Awards.
Yeah. DJ Justo.
Yeah, that I don't think he was he a DJ? I don't think he was a DJ, but he advocated for DJs.
Okay.
He did the
I could be
Justo
wrong,
Mixtape Awards. I'm sure he probably was a DJ at some point, but I don't think he was going by DJ Justo. Um, Justo, I think, who was an advocate for a lot of the mixtape DJs and DJs in general. I think he might have been the one to plug me with like put me in front of the BET folks to get that look. I might be wrong, but I believe it was him.
9/11, it hindered a lot of rappers.
Oh, that was crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
Miss Toy was another artist that at the time she had just signed a deal with Universal, and it hindered her release as well. Like she put
Yeah,
it out,
man,
but yeah. But now you've worn a lot of hats.
for sure.
DJ, promoter, marketer, filmmaker, podcaster. And so how did Crazy Hood Productions evolve into like all these different branches? And because you had the store. Well, it
Crazy
went from a
good.
label to the store, and then
Right,
you got to films and then marketing. And
right.
so how did you keep that vision alive over the years?
I mean, it's like anything else, man. We're young teenagers coming out the gate. My first ideas that I think we could do is put out music. This is even before I'm really spinning or making mixtapes. So I'm like, I started to develop artists and get them in the studio and produce demos and try to shop them and get a deal. That was like the only thing the only steps I saw that we could do to get somewhere. And then you have this grand idea, like, look, we're gonna make a demo, we're gonna get signed, we're gonna put out a record and a single, we're gonna go, gold or platinum, and we made it. And that's it. We're done. We huge, and we there. You know what I'm saying? We just keep
I wish it went
repeating
like
that.
that.
So we saw eventually that wasn't gonna happen. So it was either decide to like call it quits, or do we still can see the vision through and figure out other ways to keep this Crazy Hood Productions tree growing and fund the music stuff that we really want to do. But since the music ain't making any money, we got to do other things that might make some money and keep it within the same vein of what the mission is, the
Okay.
mission statement. So that's where you have, I start making the mixtapes, and the mixtapes start making a huge impact. It's really what starts to catapult everything in Crazy Hood, because at that time, commercial radio wasn't playing a lot of hip hop in Miami. We had pirate and college radio, which I was on as well. And then the mixtapes were mainly mixtapes coming from New York out here.
Yeah.
So there was nobody really repping Miami or South Florida in the mixtape scene. So I took it upon myself to do that. Like there was cats that might put out one or two, like one mixtape a year or something, but it wasn't anybody consistently trying to do it like a DJ Clue or a Tony Touch or an SNS or something like that. So I was like, all right, I see a lane there that I could fill, the void I could fill. So I started doing that. So then the mixtapes start spinning at the club, start spinning the pirate radio and college radio. We end up opening the store Crazy Goods because we, again, another void. We didn't have that many hip hop shops where you could go and buy some gear, get a mixtape, get the Source magazine, like things that you might take for granted later on. We didn't have that out here.
Yeah.
And this is pre hip hop gear being sold in the major department stores. You had to go find these like boutique stores where you could find the gear. And so I opened up Crazy Goods with my partner Eddie Giggs, and then we had that. Boom. Then in the record store, I said, all right, well, I want to have a record pool. So I started a record pool for DJs to be able to get access to records because now I start getting serviced by the record labels for, they want to service me as a key DJ in Miami. So I start telling them, look, I'm gonna open up a record pool. And so now they send me boxes of records that I could distribute to the DJs in Miami at a fee. And that's a record pool. And then from that, we start the marketing company too, because people started noticing that we were really good at marketing ourselves and guerrilla marketing mainly. And so I had homies who were already kind of in the promo game, and they were like, yo, you could start getting accounts and getting paid that way from these major labels. They need people out here. So boom, they start feeding me accounts. So that starts funding us. And again, like it just starts evolving. Like I'm looking at the landscape and how things are happening. And I'm like, guys, we gotta diversify ourselves if we're gonna keep the dream alive. Because if it would have just been on just music alone, and we went double wood in the hood, the dream is over. You know what I'm saying? Like we wouldn't be talking about the alliance today if we just relied on the alliance. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
That's what I'm saying. So in order to keep that dream alive, I had to keep going in every single direction that I could find money, revenue to come in, but that it made sense. I wasn't just trying to like get into like, oh, this is a trend over here I'm gonna jump into. You know what I'm saying? Like it all had to make sense with what we were about our brand and what we were doing.
See, I don't think people understand the hustle that you had back then just with the mixtapes. Like, I want people to really visualize this. Like, you were driving from Miami up to New York.
Yep. And stopping along the way, like in Atlanta and the Carolinas or wherever.
And getting mixtapes before they were actually released.
Getting records.
I mean, my bad.
Yeah. And dropping off mixtapes in these stores so that I'm planting the seed of DJ EFN and Crazy Hood in these cities too.
Yeah. And then coming back to Miami and then doing mixtapes and stuff like that. And then, I mean, but you like the promotion and the rubbing shoulders with different artists and stuff like that. Dude, like they don't know, like you really are a person that hustled your ass off, like when it came to it.
And what it was, man, is I just paid, because look, again, I didn't really have no mentors. There was some, I got to give credit to some people. There was these local homies that had a record label, indie record label, and put out a record. The record label was Assailant Records, and the group was called Mundi Dialect. And they were just like a year or two older than me. But back then, if you actually pressed up a record, that was a big deal. Like if you go in the studio, that's a big deal. Like there was, these were like the natural gatekeeping of making sure that people who really wanted to get into this, they had to work hard to get into it. So the studio was the first gatekeeping. Like you couldn't just get into the studio and get access to studio or afford studio time. So my homies were in the studio, they were pressing up records, and I thought this was major, And so I asked them, I said, yo, like I said, they were like 2 years older than me, but in those ages, they grown, And I'm like, yo, let me just shadow you guys. Let me be an intern. And so I was rolling around with them and carrying crates and doing the intros to all their shows, and I got to go on stage and open up what they were opening up, but I introed them for one of Redman's first shows in Miami, which was a huge deal.
Damn.
And so learning from all of that, man, I'm just like, look, man, like, I learned from interning with them. I read all the articles in the source about all the different folks, like Luke Records and Ruthless Records and Suave House Records and Rap-A-Lot Records, and when Wu-Tang came on the scene, what they're doing, and Master P and what they're doing, No Limit, like, and I'm taking all this information and I'm trying to create my own formula based off of everybody else's formula, like how they doing it. Like that's how I'm learning. That's my college.
Yeah,
reading all these articles, and then this convention came into Miami, which was a blessing, called How Can I Be Down Convention. It came in, I think the first one was 1995. Yeah, it was basically the industry coming out here, and it offered for people to buy to attend the convention, and you could sit on panels where they had panels about marketing and getting signed to a label, and you could meet the artists, the executives, and man, that to me changed my life, because now, like I said, we had numbers. So my crew, we were like, by that point, we probably dwindled down to about 12 to 15 guys, and I said, look, man, we're gonna all put on the same shirts, Crazy Hood shirts.
Oh yeah,
and we're gonna hit this convention, and these people are in our city, so we gotta make sure let them know, hey, you're welcome, but you're in our city, You know, and I'm a DJ. I'm DJ EFN. We're gonna get drops from all these artists.
Can I get a drop? I'm DJ EFN.
Yeah. And, well, everybody, my whole crew was DJ EFN. We had like 4 or 5 tape recorders, and then I was like, you know, you don't have to explain it. Just say I'm DJ EFN. I need a drop. Everybody go out there and be DJ EFN and get drops. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we started to network. And then, you know, these artists and these executives and these managers, and we would get contacts, and they started to be like, yo, these are the dudes in Miami. You know, this is one of the DJs we need to, like, they needed contacts in cities. So they seen us as an asset. And so that's how, you know, things started evolving, man. And yeah, we definitely hustled, man. We put in work.
Now, with your networking skills, another thing that, well, I think this is kind of more recently, the Colombian white liquor brand.
Right.
You know, that's such a unexpected, you know, yet perfect move. Right. So how did that collaboration come about?
Colombian white, it's no longer. That business is no longer. It was some homies that were doing it locally. They were Colombian. And I have Colombian homies like Drink Champ Sports, who used to be Weird Thoughts in the Alliance. He's Colombian. So we got Colombian homies in the crew. Like, our crew is multicultural. We got Jamaican, Haitian, Colombian, Puerto Rican, Peruvian. Like, we got everything in the crew. So yeah, so I had drank that type of liquor, which is called aguardiente, and it's a crazy hardcore drink. And these local dudes came up with a recipe for that same type of drink that was actually pretty good. And I'm like, man, this could hit, you know. And I know there's a big Colombian following here, and I just in general, like, that type of liquor could, you know, just like Bacardi rum, you know, everybody drinks that. So they came to me with a proposal for me to be involved, and I got involved with it, and I promoted it as such. I was, you know, a part of the company. But eventually they, you know, that liquor game, I learned a lot and they learned a lot. It's a whole other ball game. And you know, and eventually, you know, and it won awards, the liquor. And I think I still got a bottle here as well. But eventually, yeah, they ended up folding the company.
Now I'm at my top question. What is your top 5 favorite rappers?
Oh, man. Look,
now you can give me your all-time list or just your current top 5, either way.
I mean, I can never really just do current necessarily. Look, this is the thing. Okay. That's a difficult question, I think, for any real DJ, like any DJ, because we have so much music. Now, granted, I'm not out there DJing like I used to be, but DJs, we have a Rolodex of music, like a vast Rolodex of music in our minds, and different music that suits different parts of the party, it's different times in the party, and different things, you know. So it's hard to, you know, it's hard to ask us that question because it changes all the time and whatnot. But I'll give you some of my favorites. That's the best way I like to put it. Some of my favorites.
All right, that'll work.
And some of them that rarely ever change in terms of like who are the top MCs for me. Is it just solo, or it could be group or solo?
Either one. I mean, however you want to do it.
Cause I'll maybe I'll give you more than 5, but definitely NWA and Public Enemy.
Okay.
And since I'm saying NWA, I'm not gonna say Ice Cube anymore. But Ice Cube for the longest time was, well, you know, if you watch Drink Till, you saw the infamous.
Yeah, I saw the shit with you and Tony Ayo. Yeah.
Who's your favorite rapper of all time? N.O.R.E ain't gonna answer this. Who's your
of all time?
All time.
It's gonna be Ice Cube.
I'm gonna go with Biggie.
Okay.
Ice Cube over Biggie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I was born in LA. I was born in LA.
What are you?
Raised in Miami.
Yeah, it was offensive. It's crazy, bro. Nigga said Ice Cube over.
In my top 5 is Big L.
So you would say Ice Cube got better verses than Biggie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Today's agenda had the suitcase up in the Centra.
Biggie's in my top 5. Biggie's in my top 5. My man.
You create the
no Vaseline. Obliterate that. Obliterate that.
So you saying
Death Certificate as an album?
Hold on.
Death Certificate as an album?
This is why I hate this industry shit. Hold on. So you saying you telling me Ice Cube is a better storyteller than Biggie?
Lyricist?
You fucking bugging.
Yeah, but Biggie's one of the best.
You lost your fucking mind.
But Biggie's one of the best.
Big Ice Cube is better than Biggie with storytelling?
As a totality, yes.
You fucking bugging, nigga. You lost your fucking mind.
I lost it.
From what? Today's agenda to I got a story
man,
to tell.
from
Nigga
where
was
Ice
talking
Cube
about
come from?
fucking bitches and they men pull up and all that. You saying, don't get me wrong, Ice Cube is fire.
Are you serious?
Storytelling.
Are you serious? NWA?
Big-
That certificate? America's
You're
Most
bugging.
Wanted?
You're bugging.
Kill at Will?
No.
Are you serious?
The best story.
Are you serious?
Bro, the best.
Are you serious?
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Which I don't think people who really understood it, they understood what was going on there. But a lot of people just think I was just saying that outright that that I was just mad, saying that Ice Cube was better than Biggie. But it was the way that Tony Yayo set that whole thing up. He was like, he asked me who my favorite was, and then got mad about who I said my favorite was.
Exactly. No, look, I'm actually glad you stood on that shit, because a lot of people, when it comes to like, so for that Ice Cube and that Biggie situation, I mean, Biggie is a phenomenal rapper.
Absolutely,
me. I mean,
absolutely.
And I don't take nothing away from him, but we still didn't get a chance to see his full potential.
And that's what I was trying to explain.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he didn't have the career that Ice Cube had.
Yeah. And so for Tony Yayo to ask you that question, and then you give him how you feel, and then he'd be like, oh no, that's not. And it's like, no, like, you got to look at that situation, but I feel like a lot of New York people are just like,
This is New York.
100%. That's what it. And that, see, in that moment, I felt like I was back in the 90s doing the song Fake Out of Towners, having to deal with that mentality. Now, granted, listen, I think that was a beautiful, although we could have debated it way better, I could have even said things way better, but I think it was dope to spark that conversation. Mm-hmm. I think it sparked a dope conversation. And Tony Yayo, like, we had, like, as soon as that was over, we was laughing about it, Yeah. Like he's a great dude. And he called me when that shit went viral. Cause I was like we didn't clip that up, like, on our end. Like, I didn't clip that up. I'm not the type of dude that's trying to go viral anyways, me personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not that dude. So the audience clipped that up and put it out there. Like, some of the social big accounts, like, I don't know if it was Shade Room or World Star, but one of these set that off. We didn't do that. Gotcha. And he hit me up. Tony hit me up. He's like, yo, we viral right now. He's like, we might have to argue once a month. Like,
shout out to Tony Yayo, man. I fuck with Tony Yayo, man.
Nah, he a good dude, man. He a good dude. So it was definitely, and you know what? Also, a lot of people may not understand as well. He's Haitian. I'm Cuban. We're Caribbean people, and we actually that's normal, like, banter. Like, we get loud. We use our hands. So some people might not be used to seeing me like that sometimes, but that's how my household is. Like, we talk loud, we talk passionately, we use our hands. He's Haitian, the same thing. They do the same thing. So that's just a clash of, two passionate people talking at the end of a Drink Champs episode where we've had some drinks. So it was a perfect recipe for that to happen. But yeah, man. So going back to the list, I'm saying NWA, so I'm not gonna have to say Ice Cube anymore. But Ice Cube at one point, and he's still up there for me, but there was a run for Ice Cube from NWA all the way to, like, Lethal Injection or The Predator, around that time frame. That was just the top MC for me, the top artist. Like, that was my artist, at the time. And so he's really up there for me. So NWA, Public Enemy, I would say Kendrick is to me is like, he embodied a lot of, like, that old spirit to me. Like, he, like, everything, the best of everything. And so I think Kendrick is one of the illest to ever do it, and is doing it. I would say Big L. I've always been. It's ill that they're coming out with that they came out with the Big L project.
They just dropped. Yeah.
But if you watch Drink Champs going back, I've always brought up Big L. He's one of my favorite MCs. And I felt that before he was just, he wasn't given the credit that he deserved.
Yeah, he was taken too soon, too.
Another one that was taken too soon.
Lyrical monster.
And another thing, when I say my favorite artist, I usually, on purpose, leave out Biggie, Jay-Z, and Pac, because I felt like people always say those three, or at least two of those three, in their top five.
Yeah.
So because I almost say, like, it's a given, those guys, I usually don't, say those names. So I'll add Rakim to this. Nas to this. I said Nas, Rakim, Big L. Ice Cube, NWA, Public Enemy, and I know there's someone else I'm missing that is like really up there for me. Oh, I said Kendrick. I'll just stick with those for right now.
Just those? Okay. That's a solid list, though. I ain't gonna lie.
And no. I have to add because I got to rep the South and rep for my city. Trick Daddy and Scarface.
Got it.
Yeah. Trick Daddy. I feel like if people, I feel Trick doesn't get the just due as an MC. I think people just don't look at him as an MC. Yeah. And if you really dig into these Trick Daddy records, he's spitting, man. He's spitting, but in the language that everybody that's born and bred or raised in Miami truly understands. It doesn't matter what part of the city you're from. Trick Daddy's speaking that Dade County language. And that's what I've always loved about Trick. And then Scarface to me is a top tier MC as well, man.
Yeah, and Trick been doing this shit back then when Luke was popping.
Yeah, the thing is that Trick came through the Miami bass kind of lane. He came, in the song Scarred. Yeah. That was the first time a lot of people heard him, Luke's song Scarred. And so he came through that. But yeah, Trick is dope, man.
Yeah, that's why I was like, a lot of people like, see, they caught on the Trick at Nan Nigga, but I'm like, Trick
he came up. That Scarred verse is crazy, man. Trick is ill.
See what I'm saying? Now let me go ahead and switch gears and speed it up to the drink champs now. So now you and N.O.R.E, I know y'all started with the Militainment
Crazy Raw
Radio. Okay, and then now you're doing the drink champs. So y'all chemistry to me, I feel with him has always been undeniable. Y'all kind of have like this I'm the DJ, he's the rapper, type of thing. But what's been the secret, behind y'all partnership? And did y'all ever imagine Drink Champs that would become one of the? Well, actually, hell, I think it's the biggest hip hop podcast in the world at the point.
If not one of, for sure. No, we never anticipated Drink Champs to blow at the level that it did. Because we had done Militainment Crazy Raw Radio, which I always jokingly say N.O.R.E named Militainment Crazy Raw Radio, and I named Drink Champs. Drink Champs. You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference in the name, the branding part of that. Yeah. But Militainment Crazy Raw Radio, which was on Sirius XM, it was basically Drink Champs. It looked and sounded like Drink Champs. It was done in my office down here in Kendall in South Miami, and we did it we didn't make a penny doing it. It was for free. Like it aired, I think it was weekly. It was a once a week show, and sometimes we had guests. I think maybe Fat Joe might have came through one. A couple guests that came through, but that did what it did, and it really didn't do much. But so the reason why I'm saying that is that I didn't think that necessarily doing Drink Champs was going to be so much of a bigger situation. I thought it might be something that might do more than that, a little bit more, but I didn't think it was going to be out the box a hit. Yeah. So when Drink Champs came about, which is a long story in itself, but I'll try to shorten it for you, is that we could do what we were doing there on Military Crazy Raw Radio, but without the restrictions of doing Sirius XM. We had to give them a certain amount of time, and had to be certain things that happen every once a week, and we had a mix show in it. Like, it's just restrictions that we had with that. So podcasting, the way it was pitched to me by my homie Godfrey, who has this podcast called Gamertag Radio. He's the one who really advocated it to me. He's like, yo, you could do what you were doing there, but you could do it as short as you want to do it, as long as you want to do it. There's no restrictions. You do it. You could put it out whenever you want to put it out. So that was the allure to trying to put together a podcast. And when it finally happened, which it took a while to really convince N.O.R.E to do it, for him to grasp, what it was. Because at the time, and this is where I think Drink Champs really helped when it came to hip hop podcasting for sure, and maybe in general podcasting, it was just looked at as this like nerdy computer nerd thing that people like podcasting. Like that's what computer nerds, be into. That's the way people looked at podcasting at the time.
Yeah.
They didn't see it, or it had to be like real informational. Like you had to be like on some like, like just like real detailed, and it couldn't just be loose. And so I think when we came on the scene, it was like a breath of fresh air for podcasting and for hip hop, because people wasn't really looking at the hip hop landscape for content like ours.
Yeah.
We we were just like off the cuff, we were drinking and we're just telling these stories and having fun while we're doing it. And so I think that really opened the floodgates for people to be like, yo, I think I could do that too. If these people could do it, I could do it too. And so I think we changed the game with that. But we didn't think it was going to be a big deal, man. We were told originally by CBS Radio was our first distributor, and it was just an audio format. And I already knew I wanted it to be filmed, so we started filming from day one.
Uh-huh.
But it was originally just audio. And they told us, I was like, yo, tell me what a successful podcast, like, what are the numbers? And at that time, they were like, well, if you can get like I think they said something like 30,000 downloads in a month or something like that, or in a week or some I don't remember accurately what the numbers were, but something like 30,000. They're like, you can make a couple G's a month, and that's considered like a successful podcast, a pretty successful podcast. And I'm like, okay, all right. It's not. I think we could do that.
One thing that I think you and N.O.R.E was able to do with Drink Champs was y'all were able to give hip hop a different spotlight, because all the stuff that you may have wanted to know with certain rappers, like, because in the 90s everything was kind of like, rumors and stuff like that. And so it's like whenever y'all have guests on and y'all are able to ask, like, okay, what happened with this? And they're actually like able to tell it. It's like I can actually, well, since we were talking about Yayo, it's like the situation with Yayo is like everybody, a lot of people wonder, like, okay, well, how did he, why wasn't he on Beg for Mercy, except on those few songs and stuff like that, and why his face is only on the cover and stuff like that. And it's like him having a chance to explain, like, hey, I was on the run and and I had the fake passport, and the damn, PO went through my shit and found out that was that situation. It's like all those stories that y'all are able to get from these artists and stuff, like, oh damn, I wanted to know about this, and I want to know about that. So
yeah, and I think that and then the drinking obviously loosens people up. But there's the one thing that I've always worried about, to be real honest with you, is I didn't want the drinking to be, even though it's called Drink Champs and we drink, I didn't want to be a negative influence on the culture or on the audience, where it's like we're making it cool to be a drunk or be an alcoholic or drink. And so that's always bothered me, like worried me, because we don't need that anymore in our culture. Like we don't need stuff like that added to the culture. So, but I feel pretty good that it seems like we've gotten past that, where people, they never really took it that way.
Gotcha.
I mean, don't get me wrong. So I'll go out to a restaurant or a bar or a club, and people trying to buy me shots and like, yo, and I'm like, yo, I'm not, I ain't doing that right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
how the hell, like, man, how do you focus with that shit, man?
Like on the show?
Yeah, like,
well, I mean, sometimes we don't. If you notice, if you watch the trajectory of how we're starting to talk, sometimes N.O.R.E loses focus, sometimes I lose focus. I mean, I just think that sometimes becomes part of it, the character of Drink Champs, like seeing where this goes with the liquor. But there's shows where we're not even really drinking that much, or the guest doesn't drink at all, which I actually love those episodes, because I love for the audience to see a sober guest. Let's just say we're drinking and they're not. For them to see someone that doesn't have to drink and can still participate and have fun with us and still get the same vibe, and they're not drinking, I think that's powerful.
Okay. What's been one of your favorite or most surprising moments on the show there?
Surprising moments.
Yeah.
Well, the Lamar Odom shit was pretty crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Sadat X from Brand Nubian, he threw up in the middle of recording and he was a soldier. He kept going. Yeah, he's like, he grabbed a garbage can, he threw up in it, and then he just kept doing the podcast.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we're about to celebrate 10 years of Drink Champs, and we're drinking, so I forget a lot of shit that's happened on Drink Champs. I also don't go back and watch Drink Champs after I do it. So I don't think I've ever really sat through a whole episode of Drink Champs.
Is there a reason why you don't do that?
I do that. Well, nobody wants to see themselves drunk.
No, I got you.
And the thing is, I'm so critical of because I do try to be accurate as possible, and you know, I'm sure your experiences when you do it, like sometimes when the cameras turn on and the mic turns on, then you forget everything all of a sudden.
Yes, just had that with you earlier. Yep.
Right. You forget everything that you knew you was gonna say, all of the history you had, all the everything, everything goes out the window. And you know, so I'm critical on myself because I want to be accurate. Like that's what I'm trying to do on my part. Like I want to be accurate with something. I like to articulate certain points, you know. And I just like my whole thing is like I lived that experience. It was fun making it. I don't want to go back and then because then if I go back and start watching them, I'll second guess myself even more when I'm filming them. Because then
Gotcha.
I'll be like, oh, I can't, I don't want to look like that, and I don't want to do this, and I want to say that, and then I'll be like, oh, overthinking everything. I'd rather just not overthink it. I go do my job. Now, don't get me wrong. I see all the clips because we're posting the clips, so I see that.
I
But
got
I'm
you.
not sitting there watching a whole episode of Drink Champs. The audience is often telling me what happened that I forgot. Like, yo, that shit was crazy when you did it, and I'm like, yeah, that shit was crazy. I'm like, I don't remember doing that shit.
Playing it
You know?
off. Hey, I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the reason
And-
why I don't watch it.
okay. Okay. I can respect that. I can respect that. Not only have you been doing the Drink Champs, but you also had your film work with the
Coming
Coming
home.
Home, yeah, the series, and
Yeah.
then also I forgot to talk. I wanted to touch on your album that you actually dropped because I know,
Another time.
yeah,
Right.
another time. And that showed to me. I felt like that showed more. It showed a deeper, more reflective side of you. And so, what inspired like those projects, and what did you learn about yourself, and hip hop through the traveling and stuff?
Well, the album was always, I think DJs and especially mixtape DJs, you always aspire to put out like a legit like studio album. Um, that's a aspiration I think of all DJs. And so I wanted to do one just like, you see the dramas doing it, the clues doing it, the Khaled's doing it. I never was in that space to do it. Like I never felt like I was ready to do it or do it the way I wanted to do it.
Got it.
So I had the opportunity to finally do it where I was in a perfect, you know, time frame of my life and career where I felt like I could take it on. And I put together another time, which I think I ended up having 66 artists on that project.
Yeah, you had a lot on there.
Yeah,
But they
and
were all solid.
nah, yeah,
Yeah.
everything was very specifically, and curated for this project. And so that's a huge prideful project. Like I'm very proud of that project. I don't care if what it sold or what it didn't. Like to me, like that project really truly represents me, represents my crew, it represents like it's like everything I'm about when it comes to hip hop is represented in that project. And of course, I always look at it and be like, I could do something better or I could have done something better on it. But for the most part, taking on a project like that, I'm really proud of that project. So that's what that was. It was totally independent, but it was just the right time for me to do it and tackle it. It took me a year to put it together, and what it is that everything that had led up to that point helped me make that project because without the help of artists, lending their voice to me, whether they donated their verses for free or charged me low rates, if for some that charged me that didn't really have a connection with, like I didn't have a relationship with them, but for the ones that had a relationship, people were, just jumping on the project because it was my project, down to the producers involved, down to the artwork, which was Scam, down to my homie Kether from my other podcast called Fatherhoods Podcast. He's a homie of mine who's
Oh
worked
yeah.
in the industry. He helped produce the project with me, like executive produce it with me. Like that whole thing just was a blessing to create, and I'm very proud of it. So anybody who hasn't heard it, check it out. DJ
Yes.
EFN, Another Time, the album. I think it still stands up. If you've never heard it, I think it'll sound brand new to you, and it stands the test of time.
Yeah,
So
it
that's
most
that.
definitely have. And thank you for that body of work.
Oh,
I
thank you,
appreciate. Yeah,
man.
we
And
really do
hopefully one
appreciate.
day I could do another project. Again, it's all about I don't like to do shit just to do it. And I really care about the culture. And I really care about representing the culture, but representing myself, my crew, my city. Like I just want something to be well represented. So I plan on doing something else, but I got to be in the right space to do it because I don't want to do it just to do it. Um, Now the Coming Home series again, that was something that was a labor of love as well, and came out of when we had the housing crash in the early 2000s, and shit hit the fan for me like everybody else financially. Like I was like Like I had the marketing company that was going crazy, but then all of a sudden from one day to the next, the economy crashes. And it's funny because back then, I was younger, obviously, and when you're younger, you're not looking at, all this economy talk on TV, on the news. You're like, but that shit don't affect me. I'm the little guy in the totem pole. The economy's for big ass companies and for the city, township, but looking back, that's what happened. The economy crashed. And the first thing that got affected was marketing, because these companies that were paying me to market stuff, the first thing they cut was their marketing budgets.
Gotcha.
So that was my bread and butter at the time. And because, this is around the same time we're doing Militainment Crazy Raw Radio, that's not making money. I got a studio that's where we're recording out of my studio. I got a studio overhead. I got, projects I was doing. And all of a sudden, my real, the real business that was giving me revenue was my marketing company. Mm-hmm. Dries up literally overnight. And I didn't have like a nest egg of saved money because I was just reinvesting it in everything.
Yeah.
So what happened was it was like going backwards at that point. And I've talked to a lot of people in the industry, and it seems like I thought I was the only one dealing with that, but everybody dealt with it in the industry. But we just all stayed quiet. So what do you either crash and you're done, or you figure out another outlet. And at that point, I was like, okay, I got to do something different. And to be honest with you, I started managing a group called Mayday, which is
Mayday.
Yeah, Mayday. They signed to Strange Music, Tech Nine. They got the joint with Kendrick that they produced for Tech. Yeah, so I started managing Mayday, which are old friends of mine from Miami. So I'd been dealing with them and knowing them, and they asked me to come on board to manage it. And I felt like I needed some fresh air, like in terms of a breath of fresh air in terms of music and the scene that I was in at the time. Like I felt like hip hop was kind of like the regular mainstream side of what I was dealing with, was kind of getting stale. So they were a breath of fresh air for me dealing with what they were doing. I always told people they were like, this is probably a really bad analogy for them, but I would say they're like the Roots on crack, and that's probably a terrible way to describe anybody. But
hold on. Okay, go ahead.
I regret using that terminology when I used it back then, but whatever. They were basically a hip hop band, and it was just a different scene, and I really enjoyed dealing with them. So that was one of the things that I was kind of like changing up my environment. And then I was like, all right, what else can I do? And I wanted, my family left Cuba. It was taboo to go to Cuba. Like Cuban Americans don't, it's like if you go to Cuba, you're a traitor because you're putting money in the government over there, as a tourist or whatever. Yeah. So growing up, I was like, I'm never going to go to Cuba. But I started to say to myself, damn, man, I'm an adult now. I may never see Cuba if I stick to this never see Cuba shit. Wait till the Castro's dead or wait till the government change. Like, this shit ain't changing. Yeah. So I decided I want to go. I want to see this shit for myself. I want to see something that my parents and my family, my heritage, where it comes from. So I met a homie of mine who had been to Cuba back and forth a couple times. He's like, yo, they got an incredible hip hop scene. And I was like, that's it. I want to go to Cuba. I want to connect with the hip hop heads in Cuba. And that's like what I want to do. That's how I'm going to go see Cuba, through hip hop. And my homie Garcia, who was one of the MCs in our crew as well, he went to film school. He's Cuban American as well. I said, look, man, let's do this. Let's film it. Took some of the crew, went to Cuba, filmed it. We were just in Havana. We weren't like all over the island because Cuba's a huge island.
Yeah.
We were just in Havana, which is the capital. We connected with some amazing artists, and we came back, cut up a film, independent. And, I'm struggling financially, so it's like very independent. Like I think we even did a GoFundMe for it and everything. Damn. And then boom, the shit got picked up it got nominated by film festivals. It got selected. It won some film festival awards, and it was the first original content picked up by Revolt TV before they even launched, as they launched the network. This is before Drink Champs. And going around and showing Coming Home Cuba, which it was just Coming Home, but I call it Coming Home Cuba now because what that inspired in me was, man, I really love this. I loved this project and what it did. And I didn't think it was going to impact so many people. Like people coming up to me from, yo, man, I would love to go to my family's country and check it out. And I would love to see what the hip hop scene is like. I was like, yo, you know what? I like Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace to him.
Yeah.
And what he was doing with food, he was traveling and he's a chef. So through food, he was just, exploring countries. I could do that through hip hop.
Yeah, you were the hip hop Anthony Bourdain.
So then I just said, this is what I'm gonna do. And Revolt had picked up the first one. I took the money from the licensing and then dumped it into the next film. Went to Peru, and I started going to the countries of the people in my crew. So my homie Boris, Beats in the Hood, he's a producer. He's from Peru. Boom, we went to Peru, and I always wanted to go to Machu Picchu. The ruins in Machu Picchu. So I was like, hip hop's gonna take me there.
Yep.
So I went to Peru. I'm telling you, I have this thing, hashtag thank you hip hop, because hip hop has done so much for me. I could never repay hip hop enough. But I went to Peru, then I got Haitian homies, we went to Haiti. And I took my boy who had never been to Haiti, who's Haitian American, and took him to Haiti for the first time. He got emotional. So went to Haiti, went to Colombia, got my homie Drink Champs Sports, he's Colombian. Took him for the first time to Colombia. Boom, went to Colombia, went to where else did we go? We went to Vietnam. I went to go, that was mine again, because I always had this thing with Vietnam because my dad fought in the war, and since me and my dad didn't have the best relationship, I was always like that kid growing up with the GI Joes and watching the Vietnam War movies.
Oh, yep.
So I had this connection to Vietnam that really connected me to my dad. So I actually went to Vietnam and we traveled into the mountains, and I went to the base. Well, it's not the base now, but where the battlefield of where the Marines fought this historic battle, these battles for months. It's called Khe Sanh in the mountains in Vietnam, and I went to the battlefield where my dad actually fought.
Damn.
And and so that was incredible. And then we went to South Africa. My homie recognized from Mayday, his dad is South African, and we followed his roots in South Africa, and we connected with the hip hop scene out there. So yeah, those are all the films, right? I did Cuba, Haiti, Peru, Vietnam, South Africa, and Colombia. It's 6 films. So
okay. And is you still trying to keep that going?
Well, what happened is, I had my kids older in life, so I have young kids right now, and when we go and do these films, first of all, it would take me away from the family. Like the last couple I did, my daughter had been born, and you start to feel some kind of way traveling so far away, from the kid. Yeah. And then Drink Champs that's the thing too. We didn't know how big Drink Champs was gonna be, and it like took over our lives, man. Like it's like our main business. So that takes up a lot of time. I can't just leave Drink Champs. So, and then the last part of it is that when we go into these countries, we're usually going into some dicey hoods, because that's where hip hop's at. We're not going with security or anything like that. So that's another thing. Now that I have kids, I got to think about, my welfare as well in some of these places, and going and the thing is, I couldn't do these films and going with security. Like that doesn't make sense.
Got it.
Like it doesn't. It's gotta be organic. You gotta just connect. And I'll tell you, hip hop. I always say this, and it sounds tacky, but hip hop protects us. We go in there, and at first they look at you crazy, like who the fuck are these foreigners with cameras? Like what are they doing? Usually in these poor neighborhoods in these other countries, they're being exploited. People are like, look how dangerous it is, and filming it, and look, I'm in this place. Nah, man. We was like, nah, I'm a DJ. This dude's an MC. We want to connect with and then you see the walls just crumble, man, and we start talking that same language, which is hip hop, the passion of hip hop, and it's a beautiful thing to see. But yeah, it's just I plan on doing at least one more for sure.
Okay. Well, hey man, out of all the stuff that you've done, you've recently received the key to Kendall,
the key to West Kendall, and the key to Miami-Dade County too.
Yeah. Oh, damn. So I didn't know. Okay. I only knew about that one. Okay. And then you also got your official Crazy Hood Day. Yeah, Crazy Hood Day, man. And so, to me, I feel like that was a major full circle moment for you. Absolutely. So looking back at everything that you've accomplished, from, building the hip hop, Miami's hip hop scene to global recognition, Drink Champs to coming home, what's the next chapter for you? What's next for DJ EFN?
Man, just continue to do what I do, man, and really, the thing is, fatherhood has taken over my life, and I'm here to serve, the family and the kids more than anything else, man. Like I've lived, I've done a lot of things. I've, like really and truly, I tell people all the time, man, the real experience is the come up, and not to say that I'm there by any stretch of the imagination, that I've made it all the way to the top, and that's not it. But that come up, those times that you're broke and it's just all about pure passion and just doing it, whatever. Me and my boy staying in a one room in a hotel, sleeping on the floor like 5 dudes, because we don't got bread to buy, rent multiple rooms. Like those are the times that you remember, and that experience is what life is all about. And so I've lived life, man. I've done it all. I mean, a lot, not all, but I've done a lot. So now it's time for my kids, for me to live for them. And that's really my focus right now, is to make sure that I'm a present father. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to do stuff, and do more things. But that's my focus right now, is that while they're young, that I'm here for them and I'm doing for them. And then, but you'll be seeing some projects, and you'll see hopefully another Coming Home, and Drink Champs will continue. We're going to celebrate 10 years. And, but you'll definitely see evolution. Because for me, as you've noticed with the timeline, I'm always trying to find different ways and directions to go that inspire me, to be honest with you, man. You can't just stay in one place forever. You got to keep moving around and be inspired. I want to be inspired.
Well, hey, from Gutter Kane and CIRV'N IT RAW, EFN, man, salute to you. And I want to give you your flowers for, everything that you've done. I know you normally give everybody else flowers, but but for this one, what I'm saying, I want to honor you and salute you, man. Not just for Miami, but, for the entire culture. Thank you, from Crazy Hood to Drink Champs, you've shown, what it means to stay true to your roots, build a community and continue to build your legacy and make history. And
Thank you, man.
Like I said, at the end, before we close out, I want to, thank you for even, sitting down and with me, and like I said, I'm such a fan of everything that you've done from the mixtapes in the 90s. I'm a hip hop head. So, I've listened to your music. I've, seen how you've, came through the culture and how, I'm like I said, I'm fanning out because, I'm just like, to me, this is like my most exciting interview. Like this is,
thank you, man.
Yeah. I feel like my interview is growing, and I pay attention to a lot of stuff you do, and I try to mimic that and build my platform up.
Dope. That's all I could ask for, man. Like that feels great to hear, and thank you, man. And look, I want to say thank you to you for being, patiently, and I what's the term that I used to always say? Polite persistence is something I've always used to give advice for. Like, stay on it, keep at people unless they say no completely, and stay on them. And you stayed on, make sure that we got this interview done, and I appreciate you for that. And that's why whenever I would every so often check in the DMs, finally, I'd be like, we got to knock this out. We got to do it for the homie, man.
Oh, well, hey, I'm glad that you did that, because that touched my heart. Because you hit me out of nowhere, because I was like, I know Jay's busy, but it's like when I saw you say, hey, we need to knock this out, I was just like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's why that shows you, like, learn from that for yourself, and for anybody listening, like, unless someone outright tells you, nah, it ain't happening, like you kept in contact, you kept consistency there, and maybe I was busy the times you were hitting, I wasn't saying, but finally I was like, I'm noticing you, and I'm noticing how you're talking, you're just being professional, you're just following up. And I'm like, yo, I gotta salute this, and I gotta knock this out,
Well, hey, I much appreciated. And so I want to give a big shout out to all my viewers and listeners for tapping in with another episode of CIRV'N IT RAW. I hope y'all enjoyed the ride. If you did, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and drop a comment below. Let us know what you think. You can always catch me on all your favorite streaming platforms. We'll definitely be back with another 5 episode. Like I said, I want to thank you again for all your hip hop contributions and everything that you continue to do. But until then, I want everybody to enjoy their weekend. I want everybody to make sure they stay solid. Make sure you check out everything DJ EFN is doing. Please go check out Another Time. Go check out his Coming Home series. You already know y'all can find him on Drink Champs and everywhere else you can find him. And so, man, I just want to say thank you again, man. And I hope we can, stay locked in.
Yeah, no, we connected, man. We connected.
Oh, for sure. All righty. Well, hey,
salute, man.
Peace to everybody.
I'm serving it raw, I'm serving it raw, I'm serving it raw. I'm serving it raw, I'm serving it raw, I'm serving